Welcome. Thank you for taking time out of your day. As I said, we're going to jump right into the content, and then I'm going to leave a good 10 minutes at the end of the 30-minute session. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat, and I'm happy to stay afterwards as well. But we're going to get going since we have this noon start time, and I know your time is valuable. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Lisa Poslusny. I'm a well-being and mental fitness coach. And before obtaining my functional health coaching and national board certification, I spent 25 years working in accounting and finance. And during that time, I also raised two very active kids. And, many of those years, I really was living in a cycle of stress and exhaustion. I suffered from anxiety. I had some disordered eating at times, and really burnout that impacted me both personally and professionally. And now my mission is to help busy professionals reclaim their energy and well-being. And in my experience, mental fitness is the most powerful way to do that. So let's get into it. Mental fitness. It is the key to living with less stress, anxiety, exhaustion, and burnout, and more balance and happiness. It is essential for people who want enhanced performance and energy, improved wellness, healthier relationships. It is really a game-changing system to achieve personal and professional goals without sacrificing your health and wellness. Mental fitness helps us to thrive even when life gets challenging, and we know that happens, right? So just like physical fitness strengthens the muscles in our bodies, mental fitness strengthens the muscles in our minds. Now, as humans, we are amazing machines, right? We've got lots of moving parts to our health and wellness that are all interrelated. And if one isn't functioning properly, it's really hard for the others to do their thing. And I like to say you can do anything you set your mind to, and mental fitness helps you with that first step of setting your mind. Now, by definition, it is your capacity to respond to life's challenges with a positive rather than a negative mindset. And what this helps us achieve is peak performance, peace of mind and wellness, and healthy relationships. And it's not just about thinking positive. It's about preventing our thoughts from controlling us. There's so much we can't control. It makes peace of mind possible in any circumstance, because what's more valuable than your peace of mind? It improves our performance by changing how we show up. When we manage our mind, we're capable of doing more using less energy. It guides us to making better choices by improving our awareness of the thoughts that prevent us from moving forward. You know that stuck feeling you can sometimes get, like we all get from time to time? It enhances our relationships by increasing our understanding of the thoughts behind the actions of others. What if you could have a better idea of what the other person, that you're in a relationship with is thinking, especially if you're in the middle of a conflict? How valuable would that be? Now, as a board certified health and wellness coach, why do I focus on mental fitness? Well, research shows that having a positive mindset can improve your health and longevity. It enhances your immune system function, lowers levels of stress-related hormones, it lowers your blood pressure, it can lessen pain, improve sleep, reduces the likelihood of chronic disease. So I'm a fan. Now, the mental fitness program that I facilitate was created by Shirzad Chamine and Positive Intelligence. It is a unique framework comprised of original and existing research across neuroscience, positive psychology, cognitive behavioral psychology, and performance science. And what it does is it consolidates the best research into a system that's simple to understand and practical to put to use in real life. Both of those aspects are very important to me. And the research includes results from, it's actually over 1 million participants at this time from 50 countries. I need to update this slide for sure. Hundreds of CEOs and their executive teams, Stanford students, world-class athletes. And there's also a book that was a New York Times bestseller. It's been translated into over 20 languages. Now, Positive intelligence, how does this fit into concepts we're already familiar with? You've probably heard of IQ, your intelligence quotient, which is a measure of your ability to reason and to solve problems. And then there's EQ. You might have heard of this, emotional intelligence quotient, the measure of your ability to perceive, control, and evaluate emotions. Well, PQ, or the positive intelligence quotient, is a measure of the control you have over your mind to respond to challenges with a positive mindset. It's how well your mind acts in your best interest. Now, the key to making this work possible is from factor analysis. It gets to the root of what's really important. It allows for radical simplification of a process. For example, a painter only needs 3 colors to create a masterpiece: red, blue, and yellow. Now, similarly, there are only 3 muscles that help you handle challenges with a positive mindset. They're called the Saboteur Interceptor muscle, the Self-Command muscle, and the Sage muscle. Now, remember, mental fitness is our capacity to respond to challenges with a positive versus a negative mindset. The factor analysis has identified 10 possible saboteurs that generate your negative emotions and 5 sage powers that promote your positive emotions. So there's a bit of a battle going on inside of our brains. So how do we intercept those saboteurs inside our heads and prevent them from lying to us and creating those negative emotions? Well, the first step is knowing what to look for. The judge is the master saboteur. It's the only saboteur that everybody has to some extent or another. I have it, you have it, your spouse, your friends, your family. And the judge has 3 modalities. The first one you're probably familiar with, judge of self, right? That's your inner critic. And it's often berating you for past imperfections and future failures and has you feeling self-doubt, guilt, shame, stress, deflation. The second mode is the one that finds what's wrong with others. And even though you're judging others, there's also an impact on your own emotions as well. You may be feeling things like frustration, distrust, disappointment, and resentment. And the third mode is pointing out what's wrong with your circumstances, convincing you that you can't be happy because of them. All 3 are harmful to you and cause most of our unhappiness and stress. Now, the judge has 9 accomplices, and if you take a look at their names here, you might already be identifying with some of them in yourself and in others. At least some of these other saboteurs are getting in the way of your performance, wellness, and relationships. And this is not something to feel bad about. We all have these saboteurs. Now, I told you about the judge. We all have the judge, but to find out more about identifying your other saboteurs, there is an assessment that can help you get started. And here's an example of the results. So you can see that here, James, his top 2 accomplices are the controller and the avoider. And then you also get a description of each saboteur so that you can become aware of them, because that's the way to intercept them. You need to know what you're looking for. You learn the thoughts, the characteristics, the feelings that kind of give them away. And the more you recognize the lies of these saboteurs, the quicker you can catch them and not trust their advice. At a very simplified level, it's like we have 2 separate brains that are wired differently. Our saboteurs live in the left brain, otherwise known as the survival brain, and the sage lives in our right brain. Now, your saboteurs, they may generate some short-term success, but not happiness. On the flip side, your sage generates your highest levels of success and sustained long-term happiness. The saboteurs, they try to motivate you through negative emotions like fear, stress, anger, guilt, shame, insecurity. And it's very likely that your saboteurs have been running the show by pushing you through life. On the other hand, your sage motivates you through positive emotions empathy, curiosity, creativity, passion, and purpose. These are the emotions that pull you through life versus the push of the saboteurs. Now, a very important question that comes up is, aren't negative emotions good for you? Well, yes, right? If you put your hand on a hot stove, pain tells you to remove your hand before you're burned down to the bone. So yes, it is helpful, right? Is pain good for you, right? But for how long? Long enough to get the message and take action, right? Get your hand off. And the same applies for mental fitness. You absolutely need to feel fear, anger, stress, guilt. If you didn't, you would just keep doing the same things you were doing and possibly, expose yourself to even more failure or even danger, right? But you only need to feel it for a very short amount of time to be aware and take action. The value of the negative emotion is so that you wake up for something that needs your attention, right? Does that make sense? Like, what's the value in staying there? We want to get out and take action. So negative emotions are a signal. They're only helpful for just as an alert. You can intercept or discredit the thought that's giving you the negative emotion. Because staying in negative emotions hurts our ability to see clearly, to respond with empathy, curiosity, creativity, or laser-focused action. Every time you're able to associate your negative emotions with saboteur thoughts and intercept them, you're building your mental muscle, that ability to shift your mental energy to the part of your brain that will serve you best. I mean, we only have a limited amount of all types of energy, but mental energy especially. So why not channel it wisely? Now, let's talk about the powerful self-command muscle. The truth is, we aren't always in command of our own minds, because if we were in command, right, would we command ourselves to wake up in the middle of the night worrying about what might happen tomorrow? Things that we can't control, or maybe things that have happened in the past that can't be changed? If you were in command, you would never choose to feel stress and negativity. Too often, our minds are running the show through our saboteurs, and the muscle of self-command allows you to observe yourself in this saboteur mode and command your mind to shift into sage, that helpful part of your brain. And PQ reps are how we build self-command. It's how we develop this ability to control our minds. Just like in the gym, you would lift a weight to build your biceps, these PQ reps build your mental muscle. There are all variations of PQ reps, and it's basically anything that focuses your attention on your senses, primarily what you're feeling, seeing, even hearing. One version is to take two fingers and rub them against each other with such attention that you can feel the fingertip ridges with both fingers. And it seems a little silly at first, right? But even 10 seconds can ever so slightly quiet that region of your brain where the saboteurs live and activate the area where your sage lives. And an MRI would actually show this. Now, PQ reps are actually at the root of mindfulness and meditation. So remember, PQ is based on that factor analysis, boiling down these complex ideas into their simplest form. And we know that the benefits of mindfulness and meditation have been scientifically proven. But, and maybe you have a practice, but most people don't practice either, right? And if you do already have a mindfulness practice, sprinkling these PQ reps throughout the day has additional unique benefits. Or on the other hand, maybe you think mindfulness is a bunch of BS or you don't have time for it. I get it. And one of the reasons why I love this approach is that PQ reps are much more practical. You can do them anytime, anywhere, and in a very short amount of time. So that leads us to the sage. We've already seen how the sage compares to the saboteurs and how self-command can activate the sage, but we'll just get a little deeper of an understanding now. So the sage lives in the region of the brain associated with those positive emotions, peace and calm, clear-headed focus, creativity, the big picture view, and it operates from what we call the sage perspective, that every outcome or circumstance can be turned into a gift and opportunity. And your saboteurs might be telling you right now how crazy an idea this is. I won't take the time to tell it here, but I encourage you to go Google stallion story for a great example of this perspective. The sage perspective is love for life itself, believing and trusting in the whole. Imagine you could truly embrace and believe this perspective. If every circumstance could be turned into a gift and opportunity, why would you ever feel stressed? Now, maybe you have a spiritual belief already that everything happens for a reason. If not, gaining this perspective is, something that it's not just something you check off your to-do list, or, you're going to have it now that you've heard me talk about it. This is something that you aspire to and you use to guide you in getting through challenging times. In any circumstance, you can ask yourself which perspective is true. The saboteur will tell you this is bad. The sage will tell you this is a gift. The answer is whichever you believe becomes true. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you look for and believe that there can be a gift or opportunity, you have an amazing tool to conserve your mental energy, reduce stress, and improve your health, happiness, and performance. Now, let's review how it all comes together. Life's challenging, and we need an operating system. So number one, if you're feeling negative emotions, stop. You are in saboteur mode. It doesn't matter what's going on. Getting stuck in that emotion isn't helping you. Do some PQ reps to quiet the saboteurs and activate the sage. This literally shifts the neural pathways in your brain. The MRIs prove it. Assume the sage perspective that every problem can be converted into a gift and opportunity. And you can then generate the gift by using what we call these sage powers of empathy, curiosity, creativity, and calm, clear-headed action. Now, this is an operating system that, you can use these techniques right off the bat, but really what you're doing is building a framework to integrate this into your daily life. That's when it becomes really powerful, right? So for example, a simple example, let's say, you messed up, you forgot to do an important task and you feel pretty crappy about yourself. Boom, that feeling is your alert to stop. Right? Those negative emotions are a signal that saboteurs are in control. You do some PQ reps. Take a couple of minutes to focus on your breath or the weight of your body in your chair, on your feet, or maybe try doing that fingertip rubbing and paying real close attention to those sensations that you're feeling. That activates your sage, right? And the sage perspective helps you look for the gift. The simplest gift is the gift of knowledge. What can you learn from this mistake to avoid it in the future? When you're in that sage mode, you come up with a better solution than you could ever come up with by beating yourself up over the mistake. Through empathy for yourself, you can examine the situation with what we call blameless discernment. You can clearly see the facts instead of getting stuck in those crappy emotions. Maybe you learn that the task needs to be done at a different time of day, or that you need to set a reminder for yourself, whatever the case may be. So the question is it really possible to just shift from saboteur to sage, even in tough challenges? The answer is yes. But the speed and the depth of the shift depends on your mental muscle strength. It also depends on the weight of the situation. It takes a while to build up a system that can handle the big stuff, but the impact of putting this into place when it comes to the small stuff has this snowball effect, and it adds up and has a noticeable impact on your performance, energy, wellness, and relationships. So, imagine you're able to remain calm, clear-headed, stress-free, and positive even in the midst of handling work and life's greatest challenges. What would become possible for you in achievement and peace of mind and wellness and in your relationships? Well, you can see here some of the results that those that have participated and built their mental fitness have experienced, right? 90% of people that have done this work feel that they can use their mental and emotional energy more effectively than they did at the beginning. 85% of people noticed an increase in happiness and 82% an increase in the improvement in their relationships. The truth is that most change doesn't last because we're working from inside only. Reading a book, listening to a podcast, listening to a speaker. With a mental fitness practice, you are gaining insight and building muscle. So think about when this might have been true for you, in the past when you've been very excited, inspired by insight, but you never really put that insight into practice. So this is just an important reminder that it requires both. And with that, as I mentioned, my gift to you is this free session. I call it an energy audit and saboteur discovery session. You receive that personalized assessment, that saboteur assessment I showed you. It takes just 5 minutes to do. You then get to the bottom of what's really stressing you out and draining your energy. And you'll learn more about the most effective practical strategies for handling life's challenges with ease and flow. So we go into more depth about the things that we talked about today. And you'll really leave with a roadmap, right? To living with less stress, more energy, to boost your performance, wellness, and relationships. So I am going to open it up to questions, and I'm going to go ahead and also plop the link in the chat and check the chat to see if there's any questions there. But while I'm doing that, if anybody would like to hop off of mute and share any reflections, ask any questions, I am happy to answer.